Well, I bought 8 of those cookers, so I conceived the idea of trying to cook chicken in these pressure cookers. So it was merely a matter of trial and error, see what temperature to have it, what quantity of fat to have it, and what time to cook the chicken. So there I developed the time and the pressure and the temperature at which it should be cooked, and that was the beginning of my Kentucky Fried Chicken business that I franchised. I know, though, during that time I developed this special seasoning of 11 different spices and herbs that complement the flavor of chicken. And there was one more item that I wanted to put in, but I was afraid to because my customer public was bragging so on the chicken and it had such a reputation, I was afraid I might spoil it and ruin some of my business with them, you see. But one day I got an order for 500 orders of chicken for a boat trip that was going to come up Cumberland Lake. And I thought, well, I'll try out this other stuff in there. Those are not my customers anyway. So I throwed in 2 handfuls of this element into the flour, stirred it all up, breaded my chicken in it. And I was the first to want to taste that because I wanted to see what I'd done to it. And honestly, I had the best chicken that I'd ever put in my mouth. And from that day to this, we've never changed any of those elements that we put in chicken. Howdy, everyone. How are you? So nice to see all of you. Hi to little folks. Hi to there, little folks. How are you, huh? You're great people. Hello there, how are you? So nice to see you. Howdy over there. Is that sun hot this morning? I was born here on this little 80-acre farm in southern Indiana in 1890. I spent my childhood days in a 4-room house that used to be here on this point. I was the oldest of 3 children when my father died. I was between 5 and 6 years old. My little brother was 3 years old. My sister was born about 3 months after Papa died. Well, that left we 3 little tots with a widowed mother. So she had to sew for the neighbors around over the country, don't you see, for her cash money to buy coffee, sugar, and other household things and clothing that we needed. Well, that left me to do the cooking for the 3 children and be the housemaid, don't you see. Well, I learned to cook as Mom had cooked in those days. Now, I guess it's no wonder I finally wound up in the restaurant business. I first came down to this country, this was the first service station that I had. It had a different canopy out front than we have here now, of course. It's been remodeled for a fruit stand. But inside, we had a front room here that was about 15 foot square. And then on this side over here, we had an oil room, like most service stations would have. And immediately back in the very back, we had 2 bedrooms and a bathroom there, you see. And then there's a small kitchen about 8 foot square that we had where we done our family cooking. So I built this, after I was here about 30 days, I moved the old dining room table out, don't you see, and the 6 chairs, and decided we'd try to sell some food to some people that were stopping with us. So I fed truck drivers and millionaires all over the same table. I didn't know anything about the restaurant business. I didn't know what table d'hote, a la carte, or any of that meant. So we'd cook meals for the 5 in the family, and then we wouldn't eat it right away ourselves, hoping to sell 1, 2, or 3, or the 5 meals. Sometimes we sold them all out, sometimes we didn't. But I don't care if I had truck drivers sitting down there, and here come a doctor. I didn't know who he was. I thought everybody could eat at the same table. I didn't know anything, only be friendly. So that was my first restaurant. The gas pumps, they stood out here, and that was back in the days when they first started these big trucks coming through the country, and I happened to be lucky enough to get their gas business. And it really made things pick up for me. So between chicken and country ham, it really built my business, my reputation. I recall one time over here on the wall, see, I didn't have any menus for the first 20 years I was in business because I felt like that if I was obligated to furnish you a good meal, and the meal was good enough, even though the price was a little higher than you thought you were going to pay, that wouldn't make any difference because you'll forget the price long before you forget the good food that you got. I had a reputation of having the best food between Cincinnati and Atlanta, Georgia, so I enjoyed a fine business. Well, all at once, the highway situation got to changing. So they changed the junction from in front of my place here to downtown. Well, that cut my business some. Then they surveyed the interstate highways, and it was missing my town by 7 miles. Well, I knowed when they done that, me depending on tourist travel, that would wind me up here. I tried to sell the business at private sale, couldn't get a bid on it because the public generally knew the highway was changing. Finally, I concluded that we'd sell it at auction. Mrs. Sanders and I said, well, maybe we can get 100 accounts in Indiana and Ohio, close to home. It'll average $10 a month apiece, and that'll give us $12,000 a year, and we'll sell at auction. And lo and behold, I sold at auction, and it brought such a low price, I barely had enough to pay off my taxes and my indebtedness that you incurred during that time. And so I was practically wiped out. And if I hadn't have been 65 years old so that I could draw $105 Social Security, I don't know what I could have done. In picking the small type restaurant operator that I did, I was usually dealing with a mom and pop proposition. Somebody was interested directly with their customers and their personalities, you see. And it wasn't like you're trying to call on a large restaurant that had a chef or a hotel with his chef, because they were paying that man a salary. He had convinced them that he knew everything there was to know about food, and therefore a country boy like me couldn't go in and tell him how to fry chicken. I got thrown out the back door instead of the front door, as I've said. And by dealing with these small people, as I have, they were strugglers, don't you see? You know, many a small restaurant up and down the street that's never no bigger now than he was 5 years ago. But if he'd got a hold of an item that, like this, my product had been to the ones I got, it has made millionaires out of some of them. And it has saved many a restaurant from going to a wreck. Well, I might say that my philosophy of business, or of action and work, was developed back at the time I got fired off of this $2 a month job that I had when I was just a boy. And after my mother gave me that tongue lashing, I resolved then that only the good things of life could come by working for them. And I would always give the best there was in me, and you'll always get the best in return. There's no question about it, as that has been proven in this instance.